Let's get to it. 13. It is, rejoined Catullus, as you say, but Antonator himself neither diversified his narrative by variety of thoughts, nor polished his style by an apt arrangement of words or a smooth and equal flow of language, but okay, so it's cut off part of this page while I'm reading it. So I'm missing like 3 letters to all the words on the left-hand side. So if it sounds like shit, that's why. But roughly reviewed it as he could, being a man of no learning and not extremely well qualified for an orator, yet he excelled as you away his predecessors. It is far from being wonderful, said Antonius, if history has not yet made a figure in our language, for none of our countrymen study eloquences unless that it may be displayed in causes and in the forum, whereas among the Greeks the most eloquent men, wholly unconnected with public pleading, applied themselves as well to other honorable studies as to writing history. For of Herodotus himself, who first embellished this kind of writing, we hear that he was never engaged in pleading, yet his eloquence is so something was never engaged in pleading, yet his eloquence was so great as to delight me extremely as far as I can understand Greek writing. After him, in my opinion, Thucydides has certainly surpassed all historians in the art of composition, for he is so abundant in matter that he almost equals the number of his words by the number of his thoughts, and he is so happy and judicious in his expressions that you are at a loss to decide whether his facts are set off by his style or though he was engaged in public affairs, that he was of the number of those who pleaded causes, and he is said to have written his books at a time when he was removed from all civil employments, and, as usually happened to every eminent man at Athens, was driven into banishment. He was followed by Philistus of Syracuse, who, living in great familiarity with the tyrant Dionysius, spent his leisure in writing history, and, as I think, principally imitated Thucydides. But afterward 2 men of great genius, Theopompus and Ephorus, coming from what we may call the noblest school of rhetoric, applied themselves to history by the persuasion of their master Isocrates, and never attended to pleading at all. 14. At last historians arose also among the philosophers. First, Xenophon, the follower of Socrates, and afterwards Callisthenes, the pupil of Aristotle and companion of Alexander. The latter wrote in an almost rhetorical manner. The former used a milder strain of language, which has not the animation of oratory, but though perhaps less energetic, it is, as it seems to me, much more pleasing. Timaeus, the last of all these, but as far as I can judge, by far the most learned and abounding most with richness of matter and variety of thought, and not unpolished in style, brought a large score of eloquence to this kind of writing, but no experience is pleading causes. When Antonius had spoken thus, "What is this, Catullus?" said Caesar. "Where are they who say that Antonius is ignorant of Greek? How many historians has he named, and how learnedly and judiciously has he spoken of each?" "On my word," said Catullus, "while I wonder at this, I cease to wonder at what I regarded with much greater wonder before, namely, that he, being unacquainted with these matters, should have such power as a speaker. But Catullus, said Antonius, my custom is to read these books and some others when I have leisure, not to hunt for anything that may improve me in speaking, but for my own amusement. What profit is there from it then? I own that there is not much, yet there is some, for as when I walk in the sun, though I may walk for another purpose, yet it naturally happens that I gain a deeper color. So when I have read those books attentively at Mycenium, for at Rome I have scarcely opportunity to do so, I can perceive that my language acquires a complexion, as it were, from my intercourse with them. but that you may not take what I say too wide a sense. I only understand such of the Greek writings as their authors wished to be understood by the generality of people. If I ever fall in with the philosophers deluded by the titles of their books, as they generally profess to be written on well-known and plain subjects, as virtue, justice, probity, pleasure, I do not understand a single word of them. So restricted are they to close and exact disputations. The poets, as speaking in a different language, I never attempt to touch at all, but amuse myself, as I said, with those who have written history or their own speeches, or who have adopted such a style that they seem to wish to be familiar to us who are not of the deepest erudition.